county, the city, and the school level, because that's when you can ask these kinds of questions that are being brought up here. Because they have an obligation to answer your questions then. They'll give you 5 minutes at a city council meeting or at a board meeting, but if you want to dig deep, that's the time to do it. I'm just telling you the veteran.
Okay, somebody that has not been heard yet, I would like to. Excuse me, could you stand up here and show off? Come up here so we can all see you and hear you, okay?
Because he was saying that to go to the meetings, at Otsego meetings, so I actually been there before, because there was too many buildings being built there. I have 2 houses in Otsego, and I was concerned about the schooling of my kids, and my kids go to bike around there, so there's gonna be like renting places there, and we have no idea who they are. And I said, well, you can't talk to me about being racist, because I am actually Spanish, so you can't talk to me about that. But I just concerned about the community, because I never lock my house, and so I don't care. So now I have to do it, and I have to be more concerned about my house and around I'm worried about my kids. So when I went there, I spoke in front of everybody. They listened to me, but they keep their agenda anyway. So I just want to say that because I done that and it doesn't work.
Ma'am, have we met before?
No.
We have not. Okay.
Oh, you went to my house?
Do you live on 85th?
85th.
You live on 85th, one of those 5-acre parcels, right?
Yes.
I think I spoke to your husband and your children.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's being connected.
So
That's huge. I mean, what Eric just did, I think that demonstrates a lot of commitment. Okay, so nobody's being censored here, but we do ask that we keep some structure. So if you have something to say, raise your hand, we'll get to all of you, okay? So go ahead, sir.
Jason from Albertville. I just had a question about how in the heck did Miller get elected Speaker of, or the majority leader of the Senate? And maybe Mary Kiffmeyer wants to answer that, because how are these liberal Republicans getting elected to these leadership positions?
let's do this. So I'm not a member of the Senate, so honestly it's a closed door thing. So I have zero insight whatsoever. And to be honest, I haven't even spoken with the Senator. But I would say rather than put Senator on the spot right now because it's a form for this, I would suggest just meet, one-on-one afterwards.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a good question for sure. Good question. But again, I don't want to take up. I'm sure that Senator Kiffmeyer is going to have her town hall.
Yep.
Coming
She's
up.
on Senator Kiffmeyer's in the batting order. We'll see.
I would recommend that we talk with her afterwards, one-on-one.
I'll go and talk to her. Go ahead, sir.
I just had a question about the rent moratorium, and maybe Eric can address. I know you have some landlord experience, and I can tell several stories. We have some rental properties, and fortunately, we only have one that's really abusing that. But it's like there's no end in sight, and there's no money in sight either. There's no help to these people, and so a 2-part question. One is anything going on? Do you see any end in sight? And 2, this may be a federal, but it's a lot of state shenanigans going on there too. It's obvious this was handled horribly. What can be done in the future? The next time this happens, or something like this happens, is there any way to get ahead of it? I mean, just for those of you that are, mostly are familiar with the basics, but my understanding is we put the moratorium on the landlord saying, you gotta foot the bill for all this, and there's zero aid. You still have to pay the property taxes. You still have to, for somebody that hasn't paid rent for 2 years now, has their refrigerator go out, you have to go fix it.
Yeah. So I'll answer. So one of the things that is often brought up by the radical progressive left is to attack big business. that all business out there are big business and we just need to tax the wealthy, tax the rich, tax corporate America, right? And then they come to housing providers and they say, you know what, we need to put a moratorium on evictions on our housing providers because these large landlords, they can absorb it, right? Well, you know what the truth is? The vast majority of housing providers and landlords across Minnesota are just individuals trying to invest, just scraping together, taking the risk. They have 1 or 2 homes, or maybe a small 4-plex or 6-plex, something like that. Not these vast, large companies that they continue to want to talk about. And they have been hurting incredibly hard. And so I am a landlord myself. I'm a housing provider. And one of the things that I do, as is most of what housing providers across Minnesota do, have the following philosophy: providing good homes for good people. That's what we're doing. But then you get the likes of Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis going out there and actively promoting that people don't pay their rent. And it is crushing. I've had numerous emails from single moms that maybe they have a duplex or they have another home. I just off the top of my head, I can recall one single mom. She has 2 houses in St. Michael. And she was crying to me on the phone because she didn't know she can't pay 2 mortgages because her deadbeat tenant wasn't paying rent and he could. And I've had so many horror stories because people understand I'm a landlord. Been emailing me well outside the district about the horror stories of the lease exists, no animals are allowed, but they're bringing animals in, and the landlord can't enforce it. The lease is between 1 or 2 people, and they're bringing in 5 people to live there. They are allowing water to overflow the bathtub and ruining the apartment, the floor, and then the apartment below. Just numerous stories. And the landlords have been in a financial ruin right now. So unfortunately, again, it's in my opinion, through an abusive executive order on the national level, they put this moratorium in place. Then you have these lawsuits take place that rolled it back, right? And most recent, and that's when I decided here about a half hour ago, how Joe Biden says, I'm going to do this anyway. I know it's illegal, but I'm going to do it anyway just to buy more time until the judicial process works, right? And then it was eventually overturned by the Supreme Court, rightfully so. Unfortunately, that did not have a positive impact for us in Minnesota here because there's a piece of legislation that was passed and signed into law that codified Minnesota's election moratorium above and beyond what the federal did. I voted against it. I didn't support it because it's not something we need. So what it did, though, is it extended the eviction moratorium. I think it's until June, May or June next year, 2020. So even though the Supreme Court struck down the federal eviction moratorium, we have a state law that was signed into law a few months ago that extended that now by Minnesota statute until June of next year. And so so anybody who has applied to, I think it's renthelp.mn.org or something like that, that if they have an application in the process, they can't be evicted, right?
Yep.
And so what's going to happen is these deadbeat tenants who are abusing this are living rent-free for 18 and likely 24 months in some cases. And when they're done, when it's finally done, they can be evicted. They're just going to leave, and they're just going to leave a mess there for the landlord, probably tens of thousands of dollars of damage to have to clean up in some cases, in extreme cases, and then you're never going to collect that rent afterwards. So yeah, I feel for you. So I have a tenant who has applied for renthelp.com or whatever, renthelpmn.org. I'm glad that he is a conservative, so he's not abusing this. But we're working together in partnership. I'm doing everything I can to help him get this assistance. And I think he applied 2 months, maybe 2 months and a week ago. Nothing. Yet nothing from the government. What's taking so long? So the landlords, I personally believe, clearly, this is a government taking of private property. Government doesn't have the authority to confiscate the private property from private citizens and then say, oh, you know what? We're just going to mandate this use over here. If that's going to happen, the government can confiscate property for government use, but private property owners need to be justly compensated, and they're not. Clearly, this is abusive right now.
One thing I can add to that, my wife is a property
We're going to move on.
manager.
We're going to give somebody else a chance here.
I've got
Go ahead and
Just a
stand
quick
up.
question, John.
No, the lady in the back.
I'm sorry.
You can, sir, you
I
can,
yield.
you're next.
Sandy, hi Sandy. If I don't show up at my job, or I go to my job and I don't do my job, I don't get paid. Why do these people in office continue to get paid when they don't do their job? We, the people, are supposed to be in charge, and they are not listening.
Who are you speaking of?
Steve Simon,
Not doing his job well?
okay, how about Pete Ellison? How about the people that aren't being prosecuted, that should be prosecuted? This is stuff that, why are they getting paid? Why are we continuing to pay for things they're not doing?
Well, under our system of government, to hold them accountable is to defeat them in the election.
It's too late.
I know. But under our constitutional system, that's how we hold elected officials accountable. But no, I understand the frustration.
So that doesn't happen anymore because they're gonna continue, machines continue to cheat.
I understand the frustration, totally.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, John from Annandale. Just came to mind, we've got a Republican majority in the Senate, right? So how did the legislation pass that extended the moratorium, within the state on the rent?
I can't speak, I don't sit on the housing committee in the House. I'm in the minority in the House, so I wasn't privy to any of those conversations or negotiations that took place between the House and the Senate. All I do know is that the language came back and was terrible, and I voted against it. I don't know how it came about or what negotiations or what horse trading took place.
Okay, so, just a reminder, if somebody has not had a chance to speak, you get first dibs. Otherwise, you had a comment, and ma'am, I think you had your hand up, so if anybody, going once, going twice? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Esther from Otsego. We wrote to you about election and what could be done, you answered saying the word that they've been using to, ask for these recounts and push that. And you said that couldn't happen under Minnesota, but what can we do? Is there something we can do as residents to make it happen?
So my understanding of so as individuals, we don't have that statutory authority. My understanding is that the chair of each party does have the authority to seek and ask for an election recount. But here's the problem. As Dan mentioned earlier, is the recount is only going to validate that the ballot that was fed through the machine matches the number, right? So if you feed, let's just say you have a pile of 1,000 ballots, you feed them through the machine, and X number are for the Green Party, X number are for Democrats, X for Republicans, whatever, right? And then you do a hand count, and you validate that the number for the hand count matches the number of the machine. That's the extent of what a quote-unquote audit or forensic audit will allow. What it doesn't validate at this point, as Dan mentioned, is the person who cast the vote has been separated from their ballot, and so there's no way to make a linkage there to know if that ballot was even legally cast. That's the problem. So the chair at this point, we could do that, right? Ken Martin, chair of Democrat Party. We have an interim chair right now for the Republican Party. Carlton Crawford could do that, but that's going to cost money. And so, it doesn't just happen out of magic, right? It's going to cost tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars to perform a recount to say, oh, the ballots that fed through the machine match the hand recount. That's not going to do us any good, because what we need to do is get the ballots that were illegally cast removed from the pile.
All right. Did you have a follow-up, sir?
Oh, I see a hand back here.
Nope. Okay, go ahead.
I'm AJ from Isanti. So a chair of the major political party or the Secretary of State may select, in constitution with the vendor, an independent third-party evaluator to examine the source code to ensure that it functions as represented by the vendor. And that code is free from defects. So why have we not received the source code?
Who's we?
We the people.
Like, where would it be received by? You just read a statute, and you said the Secretary of State, so that's Steve Simon.
Yes,
Or-
but the major party chair,
Yes.
Carlton Crawford, could request the source
Yep.
code.
No, I don't think, read the statute again.
The chair of the major political party or the Secretary of State may select, in constitution with the vendor, an independent third-party evaluator to examine the source code to ensure.
Okay, so stop right there. So just see what you just read though? We aren't gonna receive the source code. It's going to be, they could elect, so the secretary or the chair of the party could say, we want to review or have a review of the source code. Then a third party is going to receive a neutral party. They're going to get the source code to validate that. We, right, I don't know who you're defining as we aren't gonna receive it. Right, the chair of the party is not gonna receive it. An independent party is gonna evaluate it and then confirm or deny that it matches or it is doing what it's supposed to do, right? So can that happen? According to what you just read, yes, but it likely is gonna have to be paid for by the Republican Party as well.
Yep. Yep.
So can that happen? But just so we're clear, we're not gonna receive the source code, the people aren't gonna receive it, the secretary is not gonna receive it, and the party chair is not gonna receive it. It's going to be evaluated by the independent party. I saw Senator Giffmeyer stand up, were you gonna?
That is selected by the party chair, so we can pick.
They have to be independent.
Well, is he an independent source? I don't know the process, how the independent party would be picked. I have no idea. But again, that's beyond it. Were you gonna say something or?
Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, I think it's really important to realize what the law, what the Constitution says you can do and start from there. So what the gentleman read is actually correct. It's the law. And what we need is a state party chair. And I told Jennifer Carnahan about that law months ago, again and again, and she didn't do anything. And so when you have a law that is already there to do exactly what you read, and no, you're not gonna get the source code. Nobody's gonna get it personally. It's gonna go to that third party, but it's gonna be chosen by this major political party, Republicans, just using it, the only one's gonna do it right now. So they get to choose it, but the state Republican Party is not gonna get the code.
I'm not
I
concerned
know.
about whether the
And
Republican
the
Party
third
gets
party
it.
is
But
going to
is
do
the
it.
Republican Party gonna choose the third party?
Is the Republican Party going to do it? We don't know yet. So far, they have not taken up the right that they have in law. And you know who put that law there? I did when I was Secretary of State. You know what frustrates the heck out of me? You get the law there, and then they don't use what is already there. I mean, if you're gonna do an audit, you ought to start with the source code. All right, and so that's the first thing. Right now, we have an election for a new state party chair. You need a massive outcry to your state central delegates who are going to choose the next state party chair. Now, I've been in contact with the candidates and said, hey, there's this statute. I want you to make this something that you will do and part of your pledge in the process of asking to be elected state party chair. Well, what about you, all of you, spreading the word and talking to your state central delegates? Think that when you talk about what can you do, and especially on this audit right now, right there is something you can do. You're a member of the Republican Party, you have your state central delegates, you have your party chair. That's where you need to go and marshal your resources, both in the political effort to the chair, and then also afterwards in the contributing of the money, that what it takes to pay for that kind of forensic audit. And there are, I don't know, Rick Weibel, whether he qualifies or not, but you want somebody that can not only do the work, but also have enough credibility that you can do that. We're not in control of that, the state party is.
Right, but if we don't have a party chair that's gonna request the source code, we're
Not
not going anywhere.
Quick interjection.
Now's your chance.
How do we get the names of the state central delegates? We should get those. Can you send those state central delegates to
I
us?
have no idea who they are. I am one, but I don't know what I don't even know how many there are. 300?
When it
300 or
comes-
so?
If you all want to be tuned into these processes, the nerve center for all of this is coming to the Wright County Republican meetings every month. This is not the nerve center. That is. That's where you find out let's think of it like a hub, okay? You come to the Wright County BPOU meetings, you get connected, you become a delegate for, you go on up the chain from, your county BPOU up to the CD level and up to the state level and that sort of thing. But when it comes to getting plugged in and getting this sort of information and making sure, that the right people are held accountable and all of that, that's where it happens, is the Wright County BPOU meetings, or any BPOU meeting for that matter, if you're in another local Republican district.
So as a state central delegate, I am going to commit to you, or I am committed, that I will not vote for the next party chair. I think, when is the vote? Is it December?
Nope, it's October
Okay, so it's next month.
2nd, I think.
So
Maybe it's the
I will
7th.
not vote for, and there are several candidates, I will not vote for a candidate who's not willing to publicly express that they will elect this option if, contingent upon the finances being there. I don't know what this would cost, right? And we understand the Republican Party, how many years were we in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars or over $1 million in debt, right? Years went by. Decades, yeah. And so we are now coming upon the 2022 election where we have all of our statewide offices up for election. So I don't know, we're going to have to pick and choose. I don't know. Let's say this audit, I have no idea. Let's say it costs $400,000. Is that something, do we even have $400,000? We don't even have $400,000 right now.
Couple phone calls and
Right?
We'll have donations, we'll get the money.
Okay.
NRCC has hundreds of
So,
millions of
well,
dollars that
okay, but this is a state party. So we have to choose, is that how we want to spend the money, or do we want to try, I don't know, right? These are decisions, but the point is, I'm definitely committed to voting for somebody who's willing to do this. And so I am a state central delegate. I don't know how many there are, 300, 350 sounds right, I see one head
It's
here.
about right, yeah.
And honestly, I have no idea, I don't have that list. I don't know who has a list, to be honest. Likely, obviously state party does, but if that list is available and can be determined, yeah, there should be an effort to ensure that the state delegate, or the state central delegates, yes, are gonna support somebody that's willing to do that, for sure.
And that's another thing you can do at the local Republican level is run for state central. That's a position that you run for. Okay, is any?
I see Becky had it.
Okay, go ahead.
Delegates serve at precinct caucus.
Right, but
Yes, okay, so that's a good point. So just to close this end here. Caucus is going to be coming up, is it February?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay, so it's February next year. Everybody in this room, I hope you are attending your local caucus. And I hear multiple cities here, and so it's going to be obviously different. Your precinct caucus will be held in various places. Make sure you're there. Make sure you volunteer to become a delegate so you can go on to the next level, and the next level will be 2 levels after that in order to become a state central delegate.
Will redistricting be decided
Yeah,
by
so
then?
redistricting, I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the maps have to be released by February 15th. Is anybody, can anybody confirm that or deny that? That's correct? Okay, so February 15th is when the new maps are going to come out. That is before precinct caucus, or is it after? It's after. So the maps are gonna, the precinct caucus will happen, and then the maps will come out. Right, so you might caucus for somebody you end up not even being in your district, right?
Yep.
And so, but nevertheless, show up so you can get onto that path to becoming a state central delegate.
And what I was referring to is just being plugged in on a monthly basis,
Wow.
just, the Wright County Republicans meet every month. So if you want to learn how to get involved, that's where you do it.
And here's the saving grace regarding the map redistricting. We have the authority as a legislature to define the maps and then send it to the executive branch to sign into law, right? Well, thankfully, we have a Republican Senate majority because they're going to stop, there's going to be gridlock to prevent the Democrats from gerrymandering the districts. So what's going to happen is it's going to get thrown to the Supreme Court, Minnesota Supreme Court, and it's not the 7 Supreme Court justices that determine it. It's the Chief Justice appoints a panel of 3 who are going to draw the maps. And guess what? Of the 7 members of the Minnesota Supreme Court, we have 2 remaining Republican appointees, and one of them is the Chief Justice. So at least the Chief Justice, a Republican appointee, she's not partisan by any means. She's a very fair judge. But at least there's the check and balance. She's going to be appointing the panel that is actually going to result in the maps that are redrawn. As it has been for, at least 4 decades now? Because we've had a combination of, for at least the last 4 election or census cycles, we've had a combination of a Democrat-controlled House and a Republican governor, or vice versa, or some combination, right? So we've never had one party have House, Senate, and governor, and therefore the map in Minnesota has not been drawn by the legislative branch for, again, decades.
Sir, did you have a?
The question about redistricting is that's really a big one because a lot of people have no idea what. Like right now, I'm not sure what your BPOU is. What's your BPOU number?
I'm 30B.
Yeah, so a lot of times during redistricting, they really can't predict
Thank you folks for coming out.
how your districts are going to go. And like Eric says, it's typically within redistricting, your precinct stays the same, but your precinct might get renumbered to a new number. It might become part of a different congressional district.
Yep.
So basically the borders all change. So I assume during caucusing, when we have caucusing with, 38 or?
Well, at least mine will be 30B, but then
Yep.
the map is going to come out and then it's going to be different.
So we'll be caucusing within 30B, let's say, and you'll be within a precinct room, you'll elect delegates and so forth, and then you'll get redistricted and you might get renumbered a different number and have different
And you might
friends.
be put into a district with no representative. It might be an open district.
Or a double.
And then you might have the opportunity. I mean, you can now, right? You can challenge me now if you want. But you might go into an open district and have the opportunity then to run for House or Senate yourself.
Is there anybody that has not had a chance to?
Mary like to speak a little bit.
Yeah, we're holding.
Okay, so
we're holding
we're gonna
court for
conclude-
her at the end.
If we're going to conclude right now, then I'll just
I think.
wrap it up.
Well, that's why I'm asking if anybody has something.
How many more questions do we have for me? 2. Okay, so we're taking these 2 and this is it for me.
You,
So,
okay,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Jason from Albertville. I just had a question about your feelings for Eric Mortensen. I think he's a breath of fresh air. He takes topics on with, tells it like it is, calls it like it is. I know that he's had that problem with the Republican caucus and the new Republican caucus. And then I really appreciate you and I appreciate Mary Franzen. I'm in tune to your guys' presentations and videos and I appreciate her a lot. But I noticed that there was like a rift between him and her now or something too. I just wonder what's up or what is the feeling that you have or how do you work together with Eric? Because I find him refreshing and I just wanted your input on Eric and how you feel about him
So for those who don't know, Eric Mortensen is another representative. I do not make it a habit to publicly go after other representatives whatsoever, so I'm going to be very reserved in my following comments. All I can say is I'm willing to work with anybody. Just today, I had a Zoom meeting with the chief author Democrat, Sandra Feist from New Brighton, St. Anthony, Hilltop, Columbia Heights area. I have been an advocate and a champion of fighting for student data privacy. I'm in the minority now, she's in the majority. She took my bill and is carrying it. And I vehemently disagree with her on pretty much everything, right? But where we overlap, I'm willing to fight and help to advance the cause, right, for the greater good. And so just as I'm willing to work with anybody. But it makes it very difficult to work for somebody who flat out lies about me. Flat out lies about me. And that's what he's done. He's lied about me, and it makes it challenging. Not impossible, but there's definitely friction.
And I didn't know that. I'm not here for it.
Yeah, no, totally.
I've supported you in other events and stuff like that, so I'm not.
Totally,
I was just
totally.
wondering what your feelings were about him.
But see, that's why I don't go out, and most people don't even know that, because I don't, you know what? Do your thing over there, I don't care. If you want to work with me, I'll try to, but if you're gonna lie about me and attack me,
I
it
didn't
makes
know
it
that.
challenging.
I didn't know that he did that about you.
All right. Did you have something? Mary?
I'm Pat from Buffalo. I'm one of those nurses that in 2 weeks have the opportunity to lose your job. I have 2 other daughters. One is leaving her job. The other one is what I'm concerned about is that it seems like I have a very good friend who is one of the CEOs of an Alina facility. And he very honestly said this is way above Alina. It's not what he would want to do. Not sharing what it is they have to do. And it puts us in a quandary. What do you do? I mean, they have been very, very willing to give anybody who's asking for an exemption, you're getting it basically, so you know it's just a game. But there's, you know, what do you do? We feel like we're hitting our head against a brick wall because we can fight all we want against Alina. It's not gonna go anywhere. So do you walk out of your job and then what? What do we do? Because it's not gonna get fixed in 2 weeks.
So number one, don't leave. Don't voluntarily quit. It'd be my recommendation. Make them fire you. But I have heard, even just today with a phone call, let's see, who was it? It was a mother whose daughter is has her dream job working at the Maple Grove Hospital right now, and she's faced with this question. And apparently what I found out today is that there are some healthcare providers out there that are not quitting or not firing anybody. They're putting them on 1 year leave of absence. So now they don't qualify for unemployment, and they haven't lost their job. That's really shady to do that.
Does that have to be voluntary?
To
Leave of
what?
absence? Does that have to be voluntary?
I don't know. I don't know.
Can't mandate.
I think you can still apply for unemployment though.
I don't know. It's just what one mother told me. So the point is, make them fire you if it comes to that. But at the same time, you don't want to be fired. I get it. I get you got bills to pay. I get it. Here's the only thing I can suggest. There is power in numbers. And right now, as you are well aware, there is a nursing shortage. My sister is a nurse. There is a nursing shortage throughout the industry. And so there are beds, and this is part of the, how does the phrase go? I'm forgetting the numbers here. When it comes to data. If you torture the data long enough, it'll confess to anything, right? And so when the government is throwing these numbers around, whether it be inflation, it's a convoluted, they've changed the definition, right? Or when it comes to the COVID beds that are occupied, what they have done, here's what they won't tell you. What they've done is because of the nursing shortage, there's beds in the hospital that are sitting empty, so they've reduced the number of beds, meaning they've reduced the denominator in the equation. So there's a smaller denominator when you're occupying the beds, and therefore your percentage goes up. When you reduce the denominator but leave the numerator the same, your percentage goes up, right? And so the numbers that the Walz administration, the Department of Health, and the media continue to report are X number of high percentage of beds are occupied with COVID patients, so the numbers are going up, right? Well, there's so many beds vacant because they don't have nurses to staff that wing or that area.
Yep.
And